Imagine this. You're deep in the wilderness, miles from civilization. The sun sets, and the forest comes alive with sounds you can't explain. You see shadows moving where there should be none, hear whispers carried by the wind. And then, you discover a campsite, abandoned, untouched, but eerily wrong. This isn't the start of a horror movie, it's a true story. Welcome to the nightmare of the Hinterland forest, where 5 campers vanished, leaving behind only fear and questions no one can answer. They say the forest keeps secrets, and some are better left untold. Tonight we delve into a terrifying story from 1995, a tale of unexplained horrors deep in the remote woods of Norway. This is the haunting mystery of the murder at Hinterland. It all began on a chilly August evening in 1995. A group of 5 campers arrived at the Hinterland forest, a place known for its untouched wilderness and eerie solitude. They sought a weekend escape, but little did they know, they were walking straight into a nightmare. That first night, as they gathered around the campfire, the tranquility of the forest was shattered. Strange noises echoed through the trees, branches snapping, whispers too faint to understand. They brushed it off as wildlife, but unease settled over the group. Later that night, one of the campers swore they saw a figure moving between the trees. A shadow, too tall, too human-like to be an animal. But when they pointed it out, it vanished, leaving nothing but silence in its wake. On the second night, things took a horrifying turn. They awoke to find one of their tents shredded as if by claws. Their belongings were scattered, yet nothing was missing. Fear gripped them as they realized something, or someone, was toying with them. The following morning, one camper was gone. No goodbye, no note, just an empty sleeping bag. The others searched the area and found faint drag marks leading into the forest, but they dared not follow. By the third day, paranoia consumed the group. Every rustle of leaves, every gust of wind felt like a warning. They took turns keeping watch, but their exhaustion began to show. The forest seemed alive, as if it were watching, waiting. When authorities arrived days later, they found an abandoned campsite. The tents were still pitched, supplies untouched, as if the campers had simply vanished. But then, they made a grim discovery: a single body. The body was identified as one of the campers, and the cause of death, unexplained. There were no signs of a struggle, no wounds, just a look of pure terror frozen on their face. As for the others, they were never found. To this day, no one knows what happened at Hinterland. Was it a wild animal? A deranged killer? Or something far more sinister? The case remains unsolved, and the forest keeps its secrets well. The Hinterland forest remains a place of mystery, a place where reality and nightmare blur. If you ever find yourself there, remember, some secrets are better left undisturbed. Locals around the Hinterland area have their own stories. Some speak of a cursed spirit that haunts the forest, a remnant of an ancient tragedy. Others whisper about strange rituals performed deep within the woods. They warn visitors not to stray too far, but their warnings often go unheeded. One chilling piece of evidence surfaced years after the incident, a photograph found near the campsite. The grainy image appears to show a figure lurking at the forest's edge. No one could identify who or what it was. There were rumors that one camper survived, but they fled the country, too terrified to ever speak publicly. Anonymous sources claimed the survivor described being stalked by an unseen force, one that played with their minds, driving them to the brink of madness. Decades have passed, but the forest remains as foreboding as ever. Hikers and campers still report strange occurrences, unexplained sounds, missing items, and the unnerving feeling of being watched. But no one has dared to stay long enough to uncover the truth. The case continues to captivate conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts. Some believe the campers stumbled upon a hidden cult or secret government operation. Others suggest extraterrestrial involvement or a breach between worlds. But one thing remains certain: answers are elusive. The Hinterland forest has seen countless visitors over the years, but it always seems to claim a few. Some believe the forest itself is alive. a malevolent force that warns intruders through its unexplainable phenomena. Those who ignore the warnings rarely return. And so the forest waits. For the curious. For the brave. For the foolish. If you ever hear the call of the hinterland, ask yourself this. Do you really want to know what secrets lie within? Or will you heed the warnings and leave its darkness undisturbed? Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey. If you enjoyed this tale, subscribe for more stories that blur the line between reality and nightmare. Until next time, stay safe and stay in the light. Beneath the moonless sky of Blackwood Forest, a single tree stood apart from the others, its gnarled branches reaching like claws, its roots twisting through the earth like veins of some ancient beast. Locals called it the Whispering Tree, a name spoken only in hushed tones, as though the mere mention might summon its wrath. No one dared venture near it, not after the stories, the disappearances, the voices in the wind, the shadows that moved when no one was there. But Emma didn't believe in stories. And tonight, as the wind howled through the forest, she would learn the truth, that some legends don't die. They hunger. In the heart of Blackwood Forest, an ancient tree stood, gnarled, skeletal, and twisted. The locals called it the Whispering Tree. No one knew its true name or origin, but legends swirled like mist around it. They said the tree had been there longer than memory, a sinister relic of a forgotten time. The villagers whispered about it in hushed tones, cautioning children not to wander too close. They claimed the tree fed on fear, on secrets, on sins. Strange happenings surrounded it, people disappearing, whispers in the wind carrying voices of the lost, and shadows moving where no one walked. For decades, curiosity had been the tree's greatest weapon. And tonight, it claimed a new victim. Emma, a nature photographer, had heard the stories but dismissed them as rural superstition. She came to Blackwood seeking inspiration, drawn by the haunting beauty of the forest. With her camera slung over her shoulder, she ventured deep into the woods, her boots crunching the frost-bitten leaves beneath her feet. The air grew colder, heavier. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. A sense of foreboding prickled at her neck, but Emma pressed on, determined to find the legendary tree. Her guide, a scruffy local man named Peter, had refused to go beyond the forest's edge. "You'll regret it," he'd muttered, spitting on the ground. "We all do." By the time Emma found the tree, twilight had surrendered to night. It loomed before her, more grotesque than she'd imagined. The bark was gray and cracked, resembling weathered flesh. Its branches clawed the sky like skeletal fingers, and its roots erupted from the earth like coiled serpents. But it wasn't just the appearance, it was the feeling. The tree radiated malice, a palpable hatred that hung in the air. She raised her camera, but the moment her finger hovered over the shutter, the whispers began. At first they were faint, a soft murmuring that seemed to drift on the breeze. But as Emma stepped closer, they grew louder, clearer. Voices, fragmented and urgent, called her name. "Emma. Emma." She froze, her breath misting in the frigid air. The whispers seemed to come from the tree itself, resonating from deep within its gnarled trunk. The camera in her hands felt suddenly heavy, as if the tree's presence drained her strength. "Emma, help us." Her rational mind warred with primal fear. She forced a laugh, shaky and hollow. "It's just the wind," she whispered, trying to convince herself. But the voices didn't stop. They grew more insistent, overlapping, a cacophony of pleading and anguish. Then she saw it. Faces. Pale, ghastly faces pressed against the bark, their mouths open in silent screams. They were fleeting, vanishing the moment she blinked, but their terror was etched into her mind. "Peter was right," Emma muttered. She turned to leave, but the ground beneath her shifted. The roots seemed to writhe, coiling around her ankles like serpents. Panic surged. She tugged her legs free, stumbling back. Her flashlight flickered, its beam casting eerie shadows that danced across the forest floor. Then from the corner of her eye, she saw movement. A figure, no, several figures, emerged from the darkness. They were translucent, spectral. their faces twisted with torment. One of them, a young woman in a tattered dress, reached out to Emma with trembling hands. "Help us," the ghostly figure whispered. "The tree keeps us here. It feeds on us. On you." Emma's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" she stammered, though her instincts screamed at her to run. "The whispers," the woman said. "They draw you in. And once you're close, it takes you. It plants you here, and you become part of it." Emma stumbled back, clutching her camera, as if it could protect her. The woman's face dissolved into ash, scattering in the wind. The whispers grew louder, more desperate. And then the tree moved. Its branches creaked, bending unnaturally. The bark split open, revealing a gaping maw lined with jagged thorn-like teeth. The air grew thick with the stench of decay. Emma screamed and bolted, dodging the grasping roots. The forest twisted around her, disorienting her. Every path looked the same, every shadow seemed alive. Her flashlight failed entirely, plunging her into darkness. But she could still hear the tree's whispers, now mingled with its monstrous laughter. She tripped and fell, the camera slipping from her grasp. As she scrambled to her feet, she felt the roots again, wrapping around her arms and legs, dragging her back toward the tree. She clawed at the ground, screaming, but the whispers drowned her out. "Stay with us," they said. "Forever." The last thing Emma saw before she was pulled into the tree was the faces, dozens of them, twisted with agony, emerging from its bark to welcome her. The next morning, Peter stood at the edge of the forest, gazing at the fog that clung to the trees like a shroud. He sighed, muttering a prayer under his breath. He knew Emma wouldn't return. No one ever did. Far away, in the heart of the forest, the whispering tree stood silent once more, its branches heavy with new whispers waiting to be heard. And so, the whispering tree stood silent once more, its branches swaying gently in the cold wind, as if in satisfaction. The forest swallowed the last echoes of Emma's struggle, leaving only the whispers to linger. Soft, insidious, promising secrets to those who dared to listen. Far away, at the forest's edge, the sun began to rise, casting pale light on a world that would never know what happened beneath its ancient canopy. But deep in the heart of Blackwood, the tree waited, hungry, patient, knowing someone would come again. They always did. Beware the whispering tree, for it is patient, and its hunger is eternal. It calls not to the curious, but to the vulnerable, the guilty, the broken. Its voice will creep into your dreams, weaving promises and lies, until you find yourself drawn back to its shadow. You might tell yourself it's just a story, just the wind in the trees, but deep down, you'll know the truth. The whispering tree never forgets. Its roots reach far, its whispers travel wide, and its branches cradle the souls it claims. Run while you can, but know this: once it has spoken your name, the forest will always find you. And when it does, the tree will be waiting, hungry, patient, and ready to make you part of its legend forever.